Good evening, viewers. Welcome to the Zena Family Heart to Heart show. And I will just introduce my guest. Some journeys begin with one passion and evolve into another, while some beautifully bring different passions together. Trained as an economist, our guest returned to Hindustani classical music and retrained under acclaimed vocalist Dr. Madhuri Joshi. She sings, composes, allowing words and melodies to flow together naturally. Writing became another form of her artistic expression. From reflective articles and blogging, she moved to fiction, exploring the lives, struggles, and emotions of ordinary people. Her works include the story collection of Swans and Songs, published in 2019, followed by the novels Being Good Enough in 2021 and The Music Makers in 2025. Viewers, please join me in welcoming the beautiful Rohini Paranjape Sate. Welcome to the show, Rohini ji.
Thank you, Rashmi. That was a wonderful, very flattering introduction. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, Rohini ji, you were an economist, but you returned to your first love, the Hindustani classic music. Why so?
Yes, I was training in economics. I mean, like I worked for a while and I continued training in it. But see, music has been a constant in my life. I mean, like it's always been there from my earliest memories, in fact. The thing is that even when I can't sing for whatever reason, I'm always engaged with it. I'm always either listening to it or, I listen to the music playing in my own head for that matter. When I am listening or singing, I find that, I find it extremely fulfilling. And at that stage, before I made this switch, I came to the realization that among all the things that I'd ever done until that point of time, music was the most fulfilling, the most joyous, and it sort of opened me up to myself. It made me understand who I am, where I'm coming from, the world around me, etc. It was so satisfying. It was so rewarding also. But I also realized that to actually reap all the rewards and all the joys of, all the catharsis and illumination, enlightenment, etc., that music can provide, I would have to immerse myself in music. I would have to devote all my time, energy, attention, thought, etc. And at the same time, when these ideas were coming up in my head, I was also going through certain issues at the place where I was training. And so that sort of even encouraged me further to make that switch, to, shift focus entirely to music and make that my primary vocation.
Right. So, what does Hindustan classical music mean to you?
See, it has always been one of the pillars of my life. My ever-present companion, if I may say so. I grew up in a family which was always very musically inclined. My mother used to play the sitar. They were all classical music fans. So I sort of grew up in that environment and I grew into music. It became a kind of, what should I say? When I started singing, and when I start singing or when I listen to somebody else singing or I'm listening to a recording or whatever, I find that I merge so easily into the emotional ambience of that music that everything around me, the material, the physical contexts around me, they begin to get, muted. It might sound very dramatic, very exaggerated, but that is exactly how it is, because I get sucked into it. See, we sing rags in Hindustani classical music. Every rag is a manifestation of a mood, of a particular mood. It has a dominant emotion that is running through it. And that sort of takes over when I listen to it or when I'm singing it myself. And whatever my state of mind may have been before starting, whatever my emotional state might have been, And that sort of surrenders to the emotion of the rag, and I am bathed in that emotion. I might have been worried or anxious or angry or irritated or whatever. But if I'm singing a Mia Kitori, I will feel that longing, that that pathos, and I will forget my anger. I will forget my worries and all that. I'm only in that zone, completely. So for me personally, it is a it is almost like a form of, I would say, meditation, though it might again be an overreach, but that is how it actually manifests to me. It is also extremely powerful, and I have found it to be healing as well.
So it's very cathartic.
It is extremely cathartic.
Yes. So when you returned to your first love,
Mm,
and you trained under Guru Madhuri Joshi. So
mm.
can you tell us something about your journey with her?
See, when I started training with Madhuri Tai, we call her Madhuri Tai, I had already trained before with somebody else. So when I started training with her, I had to, first of all, unlearn a few things that I had learned before. And then she taught me everything else, everything again, right from almost from scratch, afresh. So and then she started working on my vocal skills, my techniques, my the gharana of music, the style of singing, etc., teaching me those uh, tenets of her gharana. Also, how do you explore a rag? What does it mean to immerse yourself in a rag, etc., and all these things. And she sort of defined and I would say also refined my musical aesthetics. Why does something appeal to you? Why not? Be able to analyze it, pick it, and to be able to create that on your own when you're singing, my musical sensibility. So, in a sense, she sort of embedded my musical compass within me. But beyond that, also through the years, she, through her own life, her own personality, her own behavior, she's taught me so much how to live life itself, how to face challenges, survive crises, etc. She's hugely empathetic. She's one of the most empathetic souls I have ever met. Emotionally extremely rich, and values are very strong. So in that way, I would say she is, along with my musical compass, she's embedded my, she sort of refined my compass to navigate my way through life itself. Yeah.
So that compass which has been embedded, did that help you to compose music? And when did you feel that you can compose your own music?
Yes, it did. I mean, like musical compass. Yes, I mean, like what is sonorous, what is melodious, what is catchy, or what is going to stay on, linger on, etc. You understand these things, but the first composition that I made actually came entirely by accident because we were shifting house. I remember, and I had given my tanpura for safekeeping somewhere else, but then without the tanpura, I felt almost like vulnerable because my reference notes were missing, and of course it was too busy a time, and I could not sing. And I feared that there would be a vacuum, but of course it wasn't like that because I had been singing Rageshri before that, before we shifted, and that Rageshri kept haunting me, and so Rageshri's dominant note is the madhyam, ma. Sarigama Padhanisa are our notes. So Sarigama, ma, madhyam is the dominant note. And that sort of kept, striking my consciousness. And it is from that madhyam that the first composition emerged, Mahara Savra. And it just came about. And the refrain and the asthai and the antara got ready, and I sang it to Madhuri, and she said that it's wonderful. She was overjoyed, but she said, okay, it needs another antara. Let make that and sing it to me. I said, I can't make it. It just happened. So she said, okay, come and we will work upon it together. But before I could go to her, the second antara also came on its own. And that's how that entire composition was born. And it was a moment of such happy discovery that something like this could also happen to me.
Right. So when you compose music, you have words and you have melodies. So do the words come to you first and the melody, or it's vice versa?
I think they come together, both of them. at the same time. They come together. I will not write the words down and then decide to set a tune to it, or I will not think of a tune and then find the words to fit to it, etc. I'm not making any effort. The word compose itself is a slightly misleading word in my context, because though it is the word that is being used, it implies a certain effort. To compose something, it means you're attempting to create something. There is an intent to create something. There was no intent, there was no attempt, no effort. They just come to me, and all I do is to reproduce them in my voice.
Okay. So, another form of expression apart from music is your writing.
Yeah.
When was that your calling? When did you feel that you can write? You should write.
You see, I had a back issue in 2012. I always struggled with some lower back problems, and it came to a head in the summer of 2012. And so I was prescribed a lot of treatment and physiotherapy. And the fallout of that was that I could not sit for any reasonable stretch of time to do any substantive riyaz. So I was in a kind of it was not a very happy time for me. I had nothing to do. And to survive that period, to get through that period, I remembered a friend had suggested that I should write. I said, okay, let's try it. And I discovered that that I could write, and I enjoyed doing it. And also, all through the hiatus of the riyaz, all that had, the thinking, the thought, the sentiment and emotion that I used to channel into my music and that had got bottled in again, now found another outlet through writing. So it was a kind of it was a bleak scenario, but with a positive outcome.
Okay. So, music and writing, for you, are they two separate worlds, or are they two sides of the same world of your creative self?
Yes and no. Actually, I think music and writing, music and literature will both spring from the same source within us as humans. I mean, like, we have this urge to think, feel, chart new territories and explore more, invent more, create more. And we are always drawn to beauty or drawn towards truth, and we're trying to express it the best we can. So both music and all that I write comes from the same source. More pertinently, I would say my writing is, when I write fiction, it's always, people and their conflicts and their, all the dramas that is happening in their lives, and they are all, pulsing through all that is their emotional maps, all their anger, their fear, their jealousy, their love, their sense of peace, their devotion, etc., all of that. So in that sense, that emotional content, there is an overlap between music and writing. So I'm expressing it, but the medium of expression for both is extremely different. I mean, like, they have different underlying logic, different parameters, different yardsticks. Music has its own language, the language of notes. And without, imagine an instrument playing, there are no words. There is nothing that a subtext to tell you that this is pathos or whatever. But you feel that. You feel it because the music, it is speaking in that language. And in writing, you're actually naming those emotions, you're calling them out. It's all very overt. Yeah.
Right. So, like when you are writing stories, and I've also gone across your bio that when you write stories, you get drawn towards the ordinary lives of people. So, what makes you draw towards them?
Um, Rashmi, I think um, a lot of us are very drawn towards celebrities and, their lives and what they do. And with the media, both print, electronic media, etc., everybody, has their cameras focused on every little thing. And even social media now, everything is, every little bit of their lives is blown up, and sort of the lenses are zooming in. And we are so, I think it's an unhealthy obsession that we have with this celebrity culture. And yes, there is drama, there is this theater, and we are all intrigued by that. But actually, if you look at ordinary people, there is as much drama and theater happening, in their own lives. There is as many struggles, there are as many upheavals, and there is sheer grit, sheer resolve. There are so many challenges that they go through. They have their own moments of triumph, their own moments in the sun. And if you would just, spare some time for anybody else, your neighbor maybe, or somebody, your colleague, and you do get invested in their lives as well. And there are so many stories and so many lessons to be learned from these stories, and it would be wonderful if we started reading those stories and be inspired by them as well. Yeah.
So, Rohini ji, like, do you travel a lot?
Not a lot, but I do enjoy traveling. I
So,
do.
okay, so where do you get your ideas from the story? Do you get it from traveling, or suddenly some idea springs up, or the experiences of your life? How do you get the ideas for your stories?
I think I not necessarily from traveling as such, but yes, sometimes something I have seen, something, a different culture has opened up, or a different way of doing things has opened up to me, or sometimes something that's happened in my own life or the lives around me. So story ideas come from anywhere. Sometimes it is just the news which is happening, and something disturbing is happening. For example, my novel Being Good Enough is about the one of the dominant themes running through that novel is about violence against women. And when asked about the genesis of the novel, I could not really pinpoint it. But when I think back and reflect, I mean, like I try to search for its origin, I realized that ever since the Nirbhaya incident happened, I was consumed by this question, about how the violence against women has been happening since God knows when, and it continues to happen. And there is no reasonable hope for it to be eradicated completely. So probably all that churning and reflection, found its way into that story. That was the idea behind that story.
Okay, so your book, Journey of Swans and Songs, how was that like for you?
So as you mentioned, of Swans and Songs is a collection of stories, short, long, and there are a couple of novellas as well. So I started writing stories. It was a very organic shift, I would say, or growth as a writer from writing reflective articles to fiction. And I wrote them at separate times and disparate times. And like there was an idea which came to me, and then that sort of got fleshed out into a story. And then I moved on, and then something else occurred to me that became another story. And then all of it, there was a huge bunch of them, and then some of them were selected and put into that anthology of swans and songs. And it was a very happy journey. It was my first foray into published fiction, and it was a very rewarding experience.
So your first novel, I think, was Being Good Enough,
Yeah.
and the title itself is very intriguing. So, what, according to you, being good enough means?
Um, this there are some there are particular instances in the book where the expression "being good enough" is it comes up. That expression comes up. But I have, been I have been thinking a lot about how uh, we as humans are conditioned always to aspire for the best. And, those are the goalposts which are set out for us to achieve the good, better, and the best. And you never stop at the good. You always aspire to do better and better until you are the best. And sometimes that can be very exhausting. It can take a lot out of you, and it could also inflict costs on people who are around you. Because in your obsession with excellence, uh, something else might be getting neglected, and you might also have burnout. And there is you cannot possibly always succeed at the highest level in everything that you do, and you cannot possibly satisfy and please everyone. And if you are happy with what you do, and if you think it is good for you, it is good enough. And that is what matters. If I write something and 100 people might like it, 1,000 might dislike it. But if I read it again, if I was happy writing it, if I read it again, maybe a year down the line or 10 years down the line, and I enjoy reading it again, it is good in itself and it is good enough for me.
Okay, so your latest novel, The Music Makers, what
Mhm.
inspired you to write that book?
Uh, I was beset with this vision of an aging artist, a vocalist, He's troubled by his the looming mortality that one day he is going to be no more. He's an extremely iconic artist. He's very celebrated, very, hugely awarded and venerated by his fans almost. But he starts wondering that after me, what will happen to me, my name, my music, and will it survive in people's memories? And then he remembers that he is actually, this is a traditional art. It has been taught for generations. It has come to him, and it is his, therefore, his duty to ensure that it survives him. That even if he dies, he sinks into oblivion, but yet the art must outlive him. So he's troubled by questions of legacy. Has he left that treasure of art for the future generations to carry forth? So that was the idea which came to me, and from that, the story of the music, the person who makes music, what drives him, and what are their lives like. That is how that story came about.
So, The Music Makers is a very different book, one of its kind, very different from other books. So, how was it writing this book in lieu of the other books?
Uh, In some ways, it was very similar because I write, everything I write very instinctively, very spontaneously. So, in similarly, there's nothing that is planned or plotted for the music makers itself. It just flowed, and I wrote with that flow of the story. But yes, it sort of brought together in a, it sort of, it was a confluence of the two major arts which have defined my life: music and writing. And for me, when I'm describing a music maker, I have to describe his music as well. And when I'm describing, if I'm, for example, if I'm uh, writing about a rag, when I'm singing the rag, I know what I sense, what I feel, and I'm satisfied with that. But I have to transmit that sensation to the reader. So I have to actually translate all that sensation into words so that he will feel the same thing that I felt when I was singing that rag or when I was listening to that rag. And that was an extremely, what should I say? It was a very different exercise for me. And also, yeah, in a way, it sort of held a mirror to me in my music and everything. And as I said, it just brought these two streams of my life together in a beautiful way, and it left me the richer.
Okay, so that brings me to the next question. Like, how has your musical training influenced your writing?
Uh, In some ways, yes. As I said, it's music has brought me very up close and personal with my emotions and emotions as I may not have experienced, but which come to the fore in the rag that I'm singing or that I'm listening to, and that has helped me describe the emotions that I am narrating or referring to in the story that I am writing. But in I had written also an article about the sisterhood of the arts, that they are complements. Like if you go for a movie and you know that the director has shot this scene and the actors have performed this scene and etc. etc. But after the shot has been taken, before the film is released to you, there is some music which is also added on. And that music, the job of that music is to enhance what is being said in the visuals, you know, to complement it. So there is a sisterhood between music and cinema, and similarly between all the other arts. Similarly, there is a sisterhood between music and literature. So when I remember I was writing something about a mother putting her child to bed, and suddenly I was reminded of Tilak Kamod, the Rag, and which had that sense of sukoon, of serenity, and the unconditional love of the mother. But there is nothing, uh, there's no pressure there. It's very easy. It just flows very smoothly, and the child is also very comforted. Basically, the child is very secure in his mother's lap. So that Tilak Kamod gave me the reference for how to write that scene of the mother putting her child to bed. Or, sometimes once I was listening to Raag Parmeshwari and that by Ravi Shankarji, and it just clicked in my head that this is how, this somber kind of lingering sorrow sometimes, it can it can infuse this chapter there, and that's how that chapter got more well defined, and it got a little more, it became richer for that. So that helps. It helps a lot.
Right. So when you write and you create your characters,
Hmm.
so usme which of the characters are very close to your heart and why so?
I it would be unfair to pick any one of them because actually I would call them, even those who are predominantly dark characters, I would still never disown them because they're all my progeny.
Created character, yeah.
Yeah, they're all, I have sort of birthed them. They are my literary progeny. But yeah, I mean, like, there's this girl I wrote about in a story in that collection of swans and songs. The story's name is Anuja Grows Up. And Anuja is a girl in class 12, so she's about 16, 17 years old. And she's transitioning from innocence into the adult world, and she is now examining the adults around her, her curiosity about them. She starts asking questions. She knows that there are some family secrets which she's not privy to, and she wants to know. She's curious. It's a very healthy curiosity, but it also comes from a place of innocence. And at the same time, she's extremely empathetic. She knows that her curiosity and her questions are probably going to, disturb some of her family members. Maybe the secrets would be better covered, but she pushes on. She gathers courage and she pushes on, and she she has a very normal relationship with her sister. Her older sister is sort of, they squabble. The older sister bullies. She pushes back, etc. But at the same time, she knows why her sister behaves the way she does. Like she's a rebel. Always, she defies the conditioning, the strictures of do's and don'ts, etc. Or she knows that her grandmother is also extremely dominant and she doesn't get along with her mother, but she hears her grandmother's harsh words, but she also sees her grandmother's insecurities. So she's a very perceptive girl. She's very affectionate girl. And whenever I think of her, I always feel, some hope that, if there were more of us like that, who were respectful, mindful, at the same time curious, at the same time courageous, it would be a much happier place. Yeah. So I
Right.
would say Anuja. Yeah, I would probably say Anuja among my favorite characters.
Great. So, Rohini ji, when you are writing a novel, you already have the characters planned and you have a story in mind. So, when you're penning it down, has it ever happened that your characters have taken you somewhere else? And now, then at that point of time, how do you deal with it?
I
Something you've not planned.
I don't ever plan.
Okay.
I don't ever plan. That is what I meant when I say that when I said that I am an instinctive writer. Somebody had asked me about the structure of my novel being good enough, or for that matter, of the novel, The Music Makers. There is no structure. There is no plotting. There is no planning. All I see is a particular image. As, for example, the aging artist. All I saw was him going for a concert to perform there, and he is extremely disturbed. And then, as I was investigating his state of mind and everything else started coming up while that was happening, I started writing it. So, everything that comes later is an unknown for me. Is, that his wife is there, that, or he has a nephew, or that he has, there are students who come to him, there is something else that has happened, or, his own daughters are there. There are so many things that I come to learn while I'm writing it. And if somebody says something odd or does something odd, well, everything is unknown. So, ye bhi sahi, I don't mind. I mean, it's like, it's the joy of discovering something new. Yeah.
So, when you're writing, what is more difficult for you, starting the story or bringing the story to an end?
Unless I have something to say, unless I have an idea that could sort of uh, grow into a story, I would never begin. So I begin with that. So the beginning is defined. And once I have something to say, I will start. I would never, sit down at my computer ki chalo aaj kahani likhte hain. I need to have something in my head. and then I will translate that into words. While writing it, sometimes the story stalls. It just doesn't move ahead. The infamous writer's block. So then what does one do? But it's not necessarily at the beginning or in the middle, it can come any time. And then all that you do is wait for that block to dissolve, because there is something that is churning within your mind. You're always thinking about everything, and it all sorts of, and somewhere you start seeing light, and the direction forward becomes clearer, and you start writing that. And so I don't find anything, writing is, as I have never found anything to be really difficult, very annoying or difficult, or I just enjoy myself when I'm writing. It is so much joy that even if there is some work to be done to be able to write something, that work is also sheer joy. So I really wouldn't describe anything as, it is the after writing, when the book is ready, the publication and all those other things that become a little uh, challenging for me. But the writing itself it's beautiful.
Awesome. So, when you're writing, what are you guided by? Emotion, observation, or imagination?
I get asked this question, but the thing is that I cannot pick any one of them. They're all there.
Okay.
They're all there. Uh, Imagination can't happen in a vacuum. Yes, I have imagined these stories, I've imagined these people, but obviously I have been, not consciously observing people, as collecting material to be used in an article or a story or something like that. But it's just a natural, ongoing process, and that sort of seeps into my memory, and then when I'm imagining something, something from that memory is drawn upon. And when I'm imagining a character, of course I have to flesh him out. I have to give him his where he belongs, what language he speaks, how he speaks, what is his culture like, what is he driven by, what are his agendas, what is his aim, and then how is he fired, what are his emotions. All of them come together. So I can't say that there is any one thing that uh, is the most important. They all work in tandem together.
So, when a reader finishes reading your book, what is that one thought you feel that they should have a takeaway?
I would like my book to resonate with the reader in such a way that even if he's reading about something that he isn't aware of or is not familiar with, he is receptive to it. I would like that reader to I would like to be able to arouse his empathy, and to make him allow for that little bit, that little different point of view, or a different way of doing things, or a different ambition, or a different conflict, to also exist in vicariously through reading my story, exist in his world also. So I'm sort of, what I would like the reader to happen for the reader, I would like his radar to be broadened, for him to be more and more accepting of all sorts of other possibilities in this world. You know, that just because he is familiar with his set world, his set people, and it doesn't mean that other points of view and other realities do not exist. They do. They do.
Right. So, has any book or a writer or a musician influenced you deeply?
Many books have influenced me. Many books. I mean, I've been reading for so long, and right since I was a child, and there's so much writing out there in the world. There's such perceptive writing, such insightful, writing, and it's taught me so much about the world and about me myself as well. Music as well. I mean, like, there's music. I would single out two people. One is, of course, because I feel very inspired by their music. One is, of course, Pandit Bhimsen Joshi. He's no more, but I think he lived music. You know, his heart, mind, body, soul was just like he was breathing music all through. And it was so sublime and it was so pure and it was so deeply rooted in that emotion of whatever rag he might be singing. And with such, he embraced the notes as if they were his, long lost friends, and he's meeting them suddenly. And he was in love with his calling. And that sort of, it was so infectious. And we would sway listening to him sing, and we would also be transported, into some blissful realms listening to him sing. And similarly, Kishori Yamonkar, she is also no more, but she also, two entirely different styles of singing. But still, I mean, you listen to a Miyaki Todi from Bhimsen Joshi and a Miyaki Todi from Kishori Tai, they are two different versions of the same rag, and yet each is so absolutely true. And Kishori Tai, what I really admired along with her musical prowess was her towering intellect. She could articulate so beautifully and so eloquently all the, the little nitty gritties of music and what it means, what this note means, what this particular shruti means here, why, etc., etc. All of it. I used to listen spellbound to her, both sing and speak. I think these two have been enduring influences in music for me.
Okay, so what is one thing about your creative journey that you would want that when you started your journey, you had known about it?
I don't think there is anything as such, because I don't think so. Everything that came, even if it was a setback or whatever, it taught me something. So I mean, like, generally people say that I wish I had known that getting published is going to be, a very long process, and there will be rejections and all of that. Then maybe with the fear of rejection, I would not have written. And then I would not have experienced the joy of writing, of, meeting these people who are imagined people, or, having conversations with them and understanding them and letting them come and inhabit my world. I would never have been known these joys if I had been inhibited by that fear that getting published is going to be so difficult. So I have heard this said, but it's okay. I will be rejected. That's okay. I will be rejected tomorrow as well, maybe another 5 years, but somewhere down the line, somebody is going to read my story. And I read my own story. And if it is good enough for me, as I said, it's good enough. It's good in itself. It's okay. I don't need to know. I don't think I needed to know anything before I started it. And learning things along the line, don't know, it's like training on the job, so to speak. It's a different it's a different kind of learning. It's very exciting. It's extremely exciting, and I would not trade it for anything else.
Right. So during this learning phase and your writing phase, any particular person or any memory that has stayed with you?
I When I was writing, when I write and when I'm writing my characters, I the characters come to me and they express themselves through me. But to be able to portray them faithfully, I have to feel, think, be, do everything that they are doing and thinking and feeling, etc. So whatever their state of mind is, I have to absorb that in myself. So if they are happy and I'm writing about them, I am happy too. But when they are disturbed or when they are sad about something, I am sad too. So that can play havoc with me. I mean, like, because I have to bear the that intense emotionality myself to be able to write with conviction of the emotionality of that character. And there was an instance, I remember, I was hunched up on my writing, hammering away at my computer, and my husband walked in from work and he saw me, and I was weeping away, and it was something to do with the story, what was happening in that. I was so carried away, and my husband said that you have to stop this because you're going to go mad. But I remember telling him, but this madness is so beautiful. It's so wonderful and it is so exciting. I cannot, I mean, I would rather be mad than sane, because I get to live so many lives. That is what I remember that distinctly. I remember that that is one of my very strong memories from my writing journey. Yeah.
Right. So, as a writer, musician, composer, and also a blogger, how do you juggle your life, managing all these feathers in your cap?
I, I don't think there's too much that's happening. There are just two things which are happening really. It's this music and writing. So I haven't composed anything for a long while. Ever since my writing journey started, I think my the compositions have just dwindled. And the compositions, if they come, they come. If they don't come, they don't come. I mean, like, I'm not creating them. But the thing is that Rashmi, I don't work well with timetables, that I will do this at this time and that at that time. Jab jo soojta hai, accordingly, I will do that. If I am inspired by a particular idea that I need to express it in words, I will write. If I'm inspired by a particular memory of a tune or a music or a rag or something, I will immediately get my tanpura and start singing. You know, so everything sits together and fits together and moves along together very well. I've never had to juggle as such. It's all pretty cool.
Okay, so what is one song or one book which tells us or reveals us more about the Rohini Paranjape Sate?
The Rohini Pranspe Sate is not much to know about her. But yes, as I think my last book, The Music Makers, because it I think it brings to the fore both my passions, the my interest in human beings themselves, all ordinary, extraordinary people, everyone, and my love affair with writing, really, and of course my abiding obsession with music, and it brings both of them together. So if I had to mention one book, I would probably just zero in on The Music Makers.
Right. So, what is one piece of advice you would give to the budding musicians, composers, and writers of today?
Be who you are, you know, stay true to yourself. When you're singing, uh, yeah, you are trained by somebody, you're trained in their style, but you have to find your own voice, and you have to sing from your own core of spirituality and emotion, and the words, if there is a song, for example, if it is a ghazal, now it will say something to someone, it will say something else to someone in a different shade, or a different nuance of it might present itself to someone. You render it the way you have understood and how it speaks to you, and be honest with yourself, and and never stint in effort, never stint in prepping for that, or in your riyas. That is something that sometimes I've also cheated on riyas, but I've paid the cost of that as well. As far as writing, write, even for singing, I would say, whatever it is, whatever you're doing, do what you know, and do it honestly. When you're writing, write what you know, write with honesty. Don't try to impress a reader with a grander version, or a grander word, or vocabulary which is not your vocabulary. Be authentic, and then the words ring true, the ideas ring true, the story resonates, and the reader will remember it, and you will also be happy writing it or singing that song or whatever.
Great.
Be true
So
to it.
we Yeah, so we'll wrap up the session with two things.
Yeah.
One, your thoughts about the Zena family, and second, and the most important, a song in your beautiful voice.
Ah, I don't have my tanpura here with me, but
You can sing it unplugged.
after talking so much, all right. No, I'll just sing two lines because uh, so. म्हारा सावरा 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 आजो जी म्हारा सावरा सावरा आजो जी म्हारा सावरा सावरा आजो जी म्हारा सावरा हाँ सावरा जो सुना लागे धाम रे मारा सावरा आजो जी मारा सावरा सावरा बस
Beautiful, beautiful. So,
Thank you.
to end, can we have just a few words for our Zena family?
I am very grateful, first of all, that you invited me and that I could. I loved all the questions that you. There were some of them which were very thought provoking, some very interesting questions, some familiar, but some very interesting ones. And I loved this interaction. And I uh, would love to know more about the Zena family. And I wish you all the best in all that you do and all the work that you do and the messages that you share with the rest of the world, all your listeners, viewers, etc. I give you all my best wishes.
Thank you so much. It was lovely having you on our show and wishing you all the best for a very, very bright future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rashmi. Thank you for inviting me. It was my pleasure. Thank you.